Welcome to our weekly Forex forecast, and this is for trading for the week of April the 12th to the 16th, 2021. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our calendar here. So in terms of, this is last week. All right, so coming up here on Sunday today, we do have Fed Chair Powell speaking, but we have heard the testimony before, so I'm not expecting any changes in regards to that. FOMC basically showed that they're holding or keeping the monetary policy the same, so nothing major changes there. In terms of Monday here, we do have Bank of Canada business outlook survey. So in Canada, they're concerned about the real estate market heating up too much. The cost of housing has gone up considerably because of the biggest mortgage rates are so low, because of the interest rates, Bank of Canada rates are so low. So at this point, I don't really expect that they will change the monetary policy, but the business outlook here, if the business outlook is not that great, that will have a negative impact on the Canadian dollar here. But going or into the future here, what we'll need to pay attention to is if Bank of Canada changes their monetary policy. Right now, they said they will hold the interest rates the same, and they're trying to make changes to the stress test levels and stuff when somebody goes and gets a mortgage to fix that issue. But we'll see. We'll have to keep an eye on, and this is where the inflation is going to cause a problem across the board for all the central banks. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as we move forward. Other than that, here we do have business client confidence numbers here for New Zealand, as well as trade balance here for China. So Chinese numbers will have a direct influence on Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar. So we'll have to keep an eye on those. But basically, for all the commodity currencies here, or the three commodity currencies that we normally track, Canadian dollar, New Zealand dollar, and Australian dollar, the business confidence numbers are coming, and they will show how the economies are recovering. So any kind of positive numbers will be positive for those currencies. And then we also have CPI numbers here on Tuesday. And CPI and core CPI numbers for the US. So US dollar has been back and forth lately. So with this one here, CPI numbers, mild, or, this is good. If we see too much inflation, that will have a negative impact, because then the market will start expecting the Fed to do something. So at this point, if the CPI goes up a bit, that will be good. Markets won't be too worried. We won't see the US dollar go up too much. But if it's much higher than expected, then we'll see US dollar go up, and it will have a negative impact on the stock market. We also have Reserve Bank of New Zealand rate statement. At this point, not expecting an interest rate hike or even a change in the monetary policy. But again, like I said, inflation, the housing market in New Zealand has taken off as well, and they were concerned about it. So any kind of comments in regards to controlling inflation could have a negative impact. So watch out for that. We also have ECB here on Wednesday, our President Lagarde speaking, and then Fed Chair Powell is speaking. So when we have so many central bank members speaking, it's just really the forward guidance that we have to worry about. So the commentary coming out of there. Employment numbers here will be important. And if we see a positive trend, that will be a good thing. For Australian dollar here on Thursday, we have final CPI numbers out of the Eurozone. Bank of England credit conditions. Oh, ADP non-farm employment numbers as well. This is, even though it's not marked as red, this is a precursor to the non-farm payroll number that comes out. So we have to, or so sorry, this is for Canadian, never mind. So this is not as important. It will be important for Canadian dollar, but the retail sales numbers here, this number will be more important for the US dollar here. So positive numbers will have a positive impact on the US dollar. A lot of Fed members speaking this week. So just be mindful of the comments. GDP here for the quarter. GDP, wow, looking quite good here. And any sort of positive numbers will be good for Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar as well, just because those two countries are big trade partners here with China. And on Friday, we have final CPI numbers for Eurozone. Again, inflation will become quite important now, so we'll have to pay attention to that. And then wrapping the week off with the consumer sentiment number. So we had business number earlier in the week and then consumer sentiment number towards the end. All right, so let's move on to the charts here. We'll start off with euro dollar. Euro went up quite a bit here. Now we are back into this previous support resistance level. So right now looking bullish, I would look for a move towards 1.19, so 1.20. It could go all the way up here towards 1.2050. The concern here would be because we are getting into or coming into the resistance level here. So this is where we may have problems. This could happen. So watch out for that. So either here or into 1.20. Both of these levels are important support resistance levels coming all the way from here. So we'll have to keep an eye on these two levels. So right now, bias is bullish for euro dollar. Pound here, pound dropped for the most of the week. However, it is into support here. So this is where last 3 weeks price has not been able to break through the support. So with this one, my bias is neutral to bearish here. We could see price turn around. If it doesn't break through the support level, it could go back into the range. So we have to be careful with that one. So for now, neutral to bearish. Once it crosses through the support level, I'm looking at 1.3560 and potentially 1.3450. But again, it's contingent on price being able to break this support. This is an important support, and we may not be able to, if the price doesn't get through it, then we have a problem here. So right now, neutral to bearish bias for pound dollar. Aussie dollar here, this one has been trading in a range for quite some time. It hasn't really figured out a direction yet at this point. Now, it is struggling with this resistance level here. It's held below this resistance level, so I will look for a move back towards 0.7520. So with this one here, neutral to bearish as well. However, be mindful that price could turn around like that. So be careful with this here, 0.7520 level. So right now, neutral to bearish bias. First target 0.7465, and then below that we are looking at 0.7400. New Zealand dollar, this one here as well, it's just been going sideways here. And this is also kind of looking like our flag formation here. So this, once it breaks through, so we have to wait for it to break through, then we could look for a follow through, a continuation of the previous move here. So this one, we had a similar move here, price dropped, pulled back, and then went back down. So this is looking very similar to that. But again, see how price broke through the support level here, or the trend line here, and then we saw that drop. So right now it's still in that range. It hasn't been able to break through yet. So we have to wait for it, retest, and then we will look for a follow through. So until then, right now, neutral bias here, neutral to bearish bias, and looking for price to come back down towards 0.6950. So neutral to bearish bias here for New Zealand dollar as well. Dollar CAD here on a daily here, this one is still trading sideways. And as we can see, price hasn't really done a whole lot. So bias here is neutral. Next target here is 1.2365. However, this is stuck in a range here. So price, if it goes through the resistance, then we could be looking at a further a move higher. And this is where we have to wait. It's just in the middle, no clear direction right now for price. So this is where it's stuck. and it could go in either direction. So overall range really still it could go higher. So right now neutral bias for dollar CAD. We'll watch it on the daily and see what direction it wants to continue in. Euro pound here looking quite bullish, British pound was bearish last week, and as a result, euro has done quite well. So we have a big bullish engulfing candle here. So in this case, bias is bullish, but watch out for a pullback before a continuation here. So we may get a bit pullback, and then we'd be looking for a further move to the upside. So this is the type of move I would be watching out for. So bullish bias here, first target 0.8730 and then 0.8800. Euro Swiss franc here on the daily, it's still stuck in this range here. As we can see, price has been going sideways. It's trying to break through the support level here, hasn't quite closed below it. And looking at our weekly here, as we can see, it's trying. So at this point, bias is bearish, but just be careful that it's right into that support. It has not been able to break the support for the last few times it tried it, which means it's there, it's almost there, but it hasn't quite done that yet. So we have to wait for a close below that, but bias is bearish. Next target is 1.0950. And then below that, we are looking at 1.0885, so bearish bias for Euro Swiss franc. Pound Swiss franc, this one also was quite bearish. It did break through the support level where it was stuck for some time. And now watch out for a pullback here, though. We may get a pullback towards 1.2770, and then I'm looking for a continuation move here. Sometimes what we see with euro and pound is one moves and the other one is held. So last week, pound was dropping and euro was sustaining itself. Now things can change, so watch out for that switch. We have seen that switch, or we see that switch quite often. So watch out for a reversal in that as well. But for now, based on just the technicals here, bias is bearish. 1.2575 and 1.2520 are the next targets. Dollar Swiss franc here, this one also looking bearish, a big bearish move to the downside. Now the concern here will also be, again, it's right into the support. And last 3 times it wasn't able to break the support. So we could see trouble here again. And that's something to be careful about. So in this case, I would look for a pullback. If it holds, we'll see a continuation, and then this entire move could get filled. So we will keep an eye on this. May take some time, but right now, this is the move I'm looking for, a potential pullback, and then looking for a move lower. So bias here is bearish as well for dollar Swiss franc. Pound yen here, this one looking bearish, as we can see. Prices come down, but we have the same problem here. It's right into the support. So this week we do have a bearish engulfing candle, but the support is right there. This is a strong support. This is where price has struggled. It struggled on the way up before it got through, so it could face a similar struggle here as well. So problem will be this if it becomes range bound here. But for now, based on the candle close here, the bias is bearish. I will look for a pullback either towards 150.60 or potentially a little higher into 151. And then looking for, we will look for price to drop. 148.50 is the target. Only if it goes through are we looking at 147.20. So bearish bias here for pound yen. Euro yen here. Euro yen is trading in a range. It's still trading in a range. It's been sideways here for last several weeks. It's trying to make its way higher, but if we go down to the daily here, this is where we are. So it's holding up here, which is or can be a sign of positive strength, but we have a bit of a double top stuff going on here. So this one I would wait. Bias right now is neutral to bullish here. But again, like I said, the euro and pound could switch the momentum. And in terms of why it happens, it's just that's just how the market moves. Generally, they tend to move together. They move in the same direction, but sometimes there may be because of some development, we see one weaker than the other, and then everybody piles into them, and that causes the momentum to shift. So this is where it's just an observation of the market when you see one of them moving, because generally they move together, they're positively correlated. When you see it's skewed to one side or the other, there's just tends to be this, leveling off that tends to happen. So with this one here, it is looking bullish, but again, it's right into resistance. So be careful with that one. And then bullish though, next target is 131.20, but we'll have to wait for a break. Dollar yen here, this one is also holding. So here we are, prices into support here. So I would say neutral to bearish bias, but we have to be careful here. This may bounce, it could bounce off. So if it could continue going towards the high once again. So neutral to slightly bearish. I will look for a retest of 109. And then if it holds, we are basically back into the level again. So bias is neutral, bearish to neutral for dollar yen. Aussie yen, as we can see, still kind of range bound here. This is the range it's been stuck in for a little while. No clear direction. It's slightly more towards the downside, but as we can see, for 3 weeks, it's been stuck in this range. And the candles are fairly neutral here. No strong momentum can be seen from any of these candles. So they're more sideways candles than anything else. So basically, I'm looking for price to be in a range. This is the range it has established, but right now I'm looking at the immediate range. So we may get a move back towards this 82.30 level here. That's what I'm looking for. And then if that level holds, we are basically looking for a move back higher into the range here. So right now, still range bound, and I'm expecting a range bound move until something really meaningful comes and moves this market. So neutral bias for now for Aussie yen. New Zealand yen, this one here as well, it's just been a dropped pullback and now it's sideways here. Doesn't quite have a clear direction in terms of our weekly, as we can see. Here we are, it's been stuck in this range. So I'm looking for a retest of this 76.30 level, but we will monitor this on the daily and see where it lands. So neutral to slightly bearish bias for now. CAD yen here, CAD yen has been back and forth, but overall still looking a little sideways here. Overall, it's holding the bullishness. So once it breaks through the resistance, we will look for next leg higher. But right now, it's been stuck in this range here. So I'm looking for price to first show us a direction, break out of the range. Right now, looking for a retest of 88.20, which is the high. Only if it breaks through that, then we'll target 89.20. So neutral bias here for CAD yen. Okay, so moving on to our commodities here. Commodities, or at least silver here, looking sideways, hasn't really done a whole lot. It's been stuck in this sideways type of move here. For the last couple of weeks, it moved a little higher, but nothing to be excited about. This week's candle close is completely neutral. So with this one, I'll look for a retest of the high. If it fails, then we could see this next leg higher. But also because it's neutral, there is an opportunity for this one to go higher as well. So again, it's something to wait and watch here. So bias here is neutral for silver. Gold here, also gold hasn't done much. It's been range bound here, and this is the range it's been trading in. At this point, couldn't get through the resistance, so we may see a retest of the high of the, or the top of the range, I should say. And if it fails, we are looking for a move back into the range towards 1675. So still looking for a range bound move here. So neutral bias for gold. Once it goes through this, then it could go all the way up here, but we'll monitor that more on the daily here. So right now, from the weekly perspective, we are neutral. Oil here, oil also stuck in a range here, hasn't really done a whole lot. This is the range it's been trading in for the last several weeks here. It comes into the support, doesn't hold, and then we are back into the range again. So right now, this is basically what I'm expecting, just a range bound move here. So neutral bias for oil as well. And then we have copper. Copper also stuck in a range. As we can see, it's been going back and forth here. So looking at the weekly, this is our weekly range. It rejected the high of the range. So I'm looking for a move back towards the low of the range, so which is 3.90 here. So bias is neutral to slightly bearish towards the bottom of the range. Bitcoin, I don't have or my chart doesn't have the latest numbers. Thanks, Salvatore. So right now we are at 59,600. So we are still holding in this range towards the top of the range here. It is holding the highs. So I will look for a continuation higher to retest the high all the way potentially into 60,600. But the test will be, can it break through the resistance that's been stuck here for a number of days into this range? So if we can see a breakthrough, then we may see a big push like this on the other side. But again, we have to wait because right now it's stuck. So bias right now is just neutral to bullish for Bitcoin. S&P 500, the market just seems to want to go higher here. Still looking bullish here. Last 2-3 weeks, it's just been expanding. The candles are expanding a little bit. On the daily, though, doesn't seem to have a lot of momentum, but it is looking bullish. It's slowly but steadily making its way higher. So bias is bullish here. In terms of our target, we are looking at 4175 and then 4200. So bullish bias for S&P 500. And the Nasdaq here as well, looking quite bullish, almost into the highs there. So we're looking for price to break out. So 14,150. So first target is 13,900. And then above that, we're looking at 14,150 for Nasdaq. Dow Jones on the daily, as we can see, the candles are quite small, but it still has that momentum to the upside. So bias is still bullish. We are looking at 34,000 as the first target here for Dow Jones. DAX here as well, it held this support level, so looking for a continuation move higher. Bias is bullish here as well. And in terms of a target, we're looking at 15,500 for this one. Ftse here, Ftse also looking bullish. And this is where it is. So we could see a continuation into that area. So 70,040, 7,040, I should say, is the target, 7040. So bias is bullish here. And then Nikkei here, Nikkei's a little bit sideways right now. So as we can see, this is where it's been trading in a bit of a range here as well. It's been stuck in this range right now. This week's candle close is neutral. I would look for a retest of the high, but if it doesn't go through, we could see a move lower. However, once it gets through, we are back into the high once again. So if all the other stock markets push through, this is likely to continue as well. All right, so that's it for now. Any questions here before we wrap it up? Okay. I don't see any questions. All right, you guys. So have a wonderful trading week, and you'll see the daily analysis as well, daily in the YouTube channel. Have a wonderful trading week. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.